I do feel a bit stupid because obviously nobody else has got sunglasses on, but at the same time I need to be able to see, otherwise I'll walk into things. That's just how it works. So this month, on A Song in 7 Days, we're really going back to basics. This week when we were clearing out the loft, I found a tape recorder. And this is an amazing development to me because I've wanted to do this for a long time with songwriting. What it means is I can turn off all of my technology. I don't have to use my iPhone to do voice notes. I can sit at the piano with lyrics written on a page in front of me, a cup of tea, obviously, and a tape recorder to capture the ideas that I get. The idea being that if I miss it, I can rewind it really quickly and listen back to what I've done. But the advantage with this is that I can be really isolated in my songwriting. I can sit here for 35, 40 minutes and I can check that on an analogue watch as well, which is just an added bonus. So I'll know when time is up and I can walk away and do what I usually do, but there's no modern technology involved in the process. And it's all about me, the lyrics, this piano. I've got an acoustic guitar behind me as well, just in case I need that. And it's just a case of developing my creative ideas in isolation. I'm really excited for this, genuinely. I cannot believe that we actually have this. I bought some blank tapes about a year ago, thinking I'd be able to use them in recording processes and things like that, and they were totally useless. But in this scenario, it plays back at the right pitch, the recordings are okay, I've given it a little bit of a test. So now I'm going to roll tape and just basically write some songs. My phone is off. It's great. It's like being on holiday, really. So, I've been in and out of this room for quite a few hours now, doing 30-minute sessions of writing, going off and doing something else, watching television, meditating, having my lunch, etc. But I keep coming back and doing it in half-an-hour stints. And I'm nearly done with the actual song itself, the musical content. I can really easily rewind the tape and go back to the versions of it that I've played and work out what the best thing to do is. But this is a really natural way to write songs, and I'd recommend it to anyone out there who's struggling to keep their flow going. I genuinely think after this next break, I'll have an entire song in front of me, which I can do whatever I want with. Now it's getting quite late in the evening now, and I have actually moved from this spot, I can promise you that now. But I've done as much as I can today, I think. I've got the song into a point now where everything is down, like I was saying before, and I just need to sort of make some decisions on the structural elements of it. But really I need to commit that into a Logic project now, so this analogue stage is over. So before I go to bed, I'm going to play it in one more time into the tape recorder, so I've got a definite finished recording of it, which I can then use as a frame of reference for the rest of it when I'm putting things together tomorrow. But wow, what a day. It's been fantastic. Genuinely pleased with this new setup. It's so good. It's conducive to a fantastic songwriting ethic. And I can't thank Jimmy Webb enough for that, really. You join me on what is a beautiful afternoon in sunny Doncaster. I seem to be saying that a lot, but we are getting some really good weather. I'm not complaining, apart from the fact that I am. It's definitely too hot. I can't handle it at all, which is why I'm sat in the shade. You'll also notice I don't have sunglasses. Slightly ironic, considering the last vlog. I haven't really done anything today at all that has been remotely interesting, so that's why you're joining me in the afternoon today. Basically just been consuming tea. I realised that that isn't necessarily anything new or exciting. I've even got a cup here. So the plan this afternoon is to start working on the track. I might even record some vocals today, who knows? Just going to see how far I get, pushing on through. I think I'm going to do all the basic stuff today, and tomorrow is going to be the experimental day. So really this is like a bread and butter day. You know, just getting all the content down. But who knows, just got to get on and see what we can do. I'm sure a few of you are also thinking, why is he drinking tea in this heat? To which I say, tea is for every occasion. It cools me down when I'm warm. It warms me up when I'm cold. I'm not writing lyrics, by the way, that's just how I feel about tea. So my plan at the moment is to start putting together the guide track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, mark the sections out, put markers on it in Logic, meaning that I can just add and layer up everything that I need to. It's great that the song is already finished, that it's already written, because now it's just a case of arranging it. I know what the melody's like, so I can slot the backing vocals in, etc. And it's going to be like a collage over the next couple of days, I guess, just putting in the bits where they're needed. In fact, it's not really like a collage at all. It's like having a sketch, and now it's just about what colours I use. The immediate vibe that I'm going for is quite a psychedelic vibe, a little bit like what the April Fool could have been, but we'll see. Trying to use things like Mellotron, Vox Continental organ, I'm going to use acoustic guitar, but yeah, make it sound a little bit older, but with a sort of fresh take on psychedelic, if you like. But that's the plan at the moment. Okay, so I've made some reasonable progress with the track. I've got to the point where there's this departure section in the middle, and I feel like before I tackle it, I'm going to have a bit of a break, because I need to do something really weird with it. It kind of suits it. Like that bit in the middle of... Well, there's so many songs that I can think of, but none of them are coming to mind right now. How annoying is that? I feel like there needs to be a big departure in the middle, for the simple reason that when we come back to the main verse section, it will have more impact. And I need to be a bit weird and wonderful with it. I don't know whether there's going to be a tempo change, or could possibly go into double time, but I need to sort of explore those options now. The first thing to say is that it's extremely hot here. I mean, genuinely, it's ridiculous. My hair's gone really fluffy, which is hilarious. But yes, it's quite hard to work, and I'm not drinking as much tea as I was earlier. Sure, it's great to cool you down, but not when it's this hot. In the meantime, I've actually had a really good guitar tone idea. Because I'm going for a 60s psychedelic vibe, I'm going to go for like a late 60s console distortion sound, which is what happens when you distort the preamp on a Neve 1073 desk or something similar. It gives you this really weird raspy distortion. It's basically just a really cool form of overdrive, and I feel like it's going to give the rhythm guitar in certain sections a bit of an edge. So it's really weird how I'm putting this song together. There are bits that I'll probably play in and go, yeah, that's going to stay the same. But then I'm going to have to go back over and record acoustic guitar again. I'll have to do the vocals and things like that. But I'm just sort of piecing it together and going, right, I'll do the bass on this bit now. But I know that probably tomorrow I've got to do some drums on it and things like that. But because it changes so much throughout the course of the song, it's almost like writing 2 or 3 songs in one at this point, which is obviously going to create quite an exciting piece of music, but it really does mean that I have to jump around a bit. Okay, it's really late here actually. I've got a lot done. The track is basically finished in its structure. There's little bits and pieces of things in there, including a bit of horn section stuff, some strings. So I'll have to go back over and look at them properly tomorrow, I think. Maybe get the old Sibelius out, Old Faithful. But yeah, the structure is down, which means I could also drum on it, but I think I'll leave it there for tonight, actually. But I'm really proud of what I've done so far. I think it sounds really good. It's also so horribly warm here. I have no idea how I'm going to sleep. Oh, it's just very close, very humid. You could probably see the sweat, actually, on my face, but hooray. That's what a song in 7 days is about. It's not even August yet. Ugh, that's going to be an interesting month. Hopefully it won't be as hot as this. So we're having a wander down to Yorkshire Wildlife Park, and we decided to try old Dumpling Cam, and he seems to be enjoying it so far. The footage looks fantastic. I imagine it's what his life is actually like, just scurrying at floor level. It's a beautiful morning, I'll be honest, again. And we're going to have a nice cup of tea, obviously, and just sit and have a chat for a bit. Now that I'm back, it's all about the Sibelius arranging. Gonna make sure I get all the string parts right. Then I can drop it into Logic and I can use my orchestral sounds to try and get a realistic string sound out of it. It's surprisingly good. I purchased this a few years ago. It's the East-West Quantum Leap stuff. Over the years I've learnt to use it in such a way to kind of blend it in with everything else, and you can't really tell that it's not real. Obviously I'd love to have access to a full orchestra, but the cost of that would be so high. Maybe one day though, that would be great. Fingers crossed. So it's the middle of the day now and it's extremely hot. I'm so bored of being in this studio now. I really need to break out of it. But first I ought to get everything done in here that I really need to. I'm probably not going to record the drums myself. I am going to use the Logic drummer and I'll talk about that in a second. But in this room I can record all the vocals, the piano and some of the electric guitar. But I'm going to do some of the other bits in other parts of the house just to give it a bit more character. Now the great thing about Logic drummer, or as I like to call it, virtual Alex Bayard Cook, which is particularly good if he's not available, it doesn't quite do the same as he would. But there is a drummer on it who does sort of play the same sort of fills, which is, if anything, quite scary. But basically what I've done is I've used their drummer to play in. There's all kinds of parameters like pushing and pulling, which obviously we talked about last time. And then there's sort of levels of complexity. And the wonderful thing about this is now you can drop it into something called Producer Kit in Logic. And what Producer Kit is like a way where you can actually alter more parameters on the drum kit in order to get the best out of it. So you can tune the toms, you can dampen the snare drum, things like that. And I think it's great. I think you can get some really good sounds out of it. The samples are really realistic. It even gives you stems of the room microphone, and producers out there will know how handy that is because you can then compress that and make it sound really live and things like that. So I do feel a little bit bad about not getting the drum kit out to play on this one. Actually, this gives me more flexibility because I can use a bigger snare drum in certain sections and things like that. Obviously I can just tune it on Logic rather than sitting here in the heat hitting a tom over and over again until it sounds like an E flat or what have you. That just sounds miserable at this point in time. I think we've had it drummed into us that MIDI drums cannot be realistic, but actually I think this is a fair approximation, and I doubt that until I pointed this out anyone would even notice that this isn't a real drummer. It's a computer that's made to sound like a human. Terrifying. We've reached the singularity, folks. So I've started doing some of the lead vocals, and the great thing is, because I wrote this like 3 days ago, it feels really familiar. It feels like I'm actually just doing a cover, and it's a weird way to describe it, but it's not like I'm looking down at the lyrics going, oh, what's going on? Not only that, but I've made a decision to record it without the reflection filter stuff behind it, so it looks like this. It's just literally me singing into a room, which is what I'm kind of going for with this track. I'm trying to get like an organic, you've recorded it at home sort of sound. So when you record like this, the reflections of your voice end up in the actual recording, rather than a nice dry signal that you can put reverb on. But I think the sound of this room is good. It's perfect for this sort of song, so why not? I cannot begin to tell you how hot it is. I might have to sit somewhere in the shade and have an ice cream or something like that, you know. Oh, I might have to do that. That sounds horrible. Okay, so I've got to a certain point with the vocals, and as you can probably hear, I've worn my voice out. This time of year is particularly difficult for me to record vocals because my hay fever is so terrible that genuinely my voice gets worn out very, very easily. I know when I was recording here of all places, I was basically doing it in 25-minute bursts and then going away and doing it, which is why the album took so long to make. Nothing to do with my level of productivity or anything like that, I promise you. I'm going to have to leave it until tomorrow now to record the rest of the vocals, but I've done a fair amount of it, and obviously I've still got to do some of the more experimental stuff and record the acoustic guitar and things like that, but actually I've done a lot today. Honestly, it's unbearably warm here. It feels like we're in Corfu, potentially, but there's no breeze, and all this equipment is just hot. So it'll be nice to stop and just chill out for the rest of the evening. And hopefully tomorrow I can get on with some of the more creative stuff and end another 7-day journey. And it wouldn't be right if we weren't rushing around on the last day trying to get things done. So let's just do that. Welcome to day 7. It's a little bit nicer here today in that it's not red hot. I'm not taking any chances though. I've got my shorts on. So I got up earlier this morning and I warmed up properly and I did some steaming as well to help my hay fever and things like that. And I've already recorded some of the vocals this morning. So I've got to a point now where I can start to be a bit experimental with where I can record in the house. I have got some backing vocals to do later on, but I haven't decided where I'm going to record them later on. But all the lead vocals are done. I need to do some acoustic guitar, and then of course the mixing process is going to be interesting, and it might be that I add little things in at that point, but I'm not sure at this point. Just to liven things up a bit, we're doing a slightly different acoustic guitar setup today. So I've actually got a microphone at the bottom of the stairs, here, and then if we go up to the top, this is where I'm actually recording the guitar. Got a little setup here. So hopefully we'll get some of the nice reflections in here, which obviously you can already hear in this recording. And then we'll get the sound of the room mic at the bottom of the stairs as well, which is, you know, who knows what that'll sound like. Maybe it'll be interesting. I've just realised that's the huge disadvantage of doing this. Dumpling is going to bark. So chances are this will be the first recording in a song in 7 days that actually has him in it. Fantastic. So I've just finished recording the acoustic guitar, and I'll be honest, it's made the track so much better. I never expected it to, but recording it in this way is great, and that's been really fun. But genuinely, it's made it sound so much better. It feels like it's almost done now. There's some backing vocals to put on it, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that yet. So I'm going to have a bit of a break, and then go back to it. But yeah, wow, I think it sounds really good. Sat sort of thinking about the project so far, this particular one. And it's really weird because it's not linear, all the other ones have been. I guess you could say that writing the lyrics first is a bit linear and then moving on to the music, but it's felt like a patchwork quilt. In fact, stay with me here, I've got a bad metaphor. I've got a metaphor, it might be a bad one, that's up to you to decide. It reminds me of when Dan and Hannah were moving into their house, and it wasn't about sorting one room and then moving on. It was about, oh, we'll paint that wall, we'll wait for that to arrive, we'll build that bit of furniture, then we'd go up to work on a wardrobe for a bedroom, etc. And it wasn't all about, you know, we do this, then we do this. It was about what can we do now at this particular point. And that's what this song has felt like to me. It's felt like, well, let's do the guitar. So, like, quite a lot of the electric guitar is already done. There's bits and pieces that I'll have to do this afternoon, but most of it's already done. All the lead vocals are done, which, as you know from all the previous projects, is something I usually do on the last day, like the last thing I do before mixing. Whereas this time around, there's other things to do before I start mixing. In fact, I'd say that certain parts of the song are actually already done mixing-wise, just because I've recorded them in a particular way. And that's great. This afternoon's going to be a really interesting combination of things. And don't worry, those of you who usually tune in for the cooking segment, that is still to come. Don't worry. Okay, so after a short break, we're back at the top of the stairs again. This time it's backing vocals. I had actually moved the microphone back into the studio, but the more I've thought about it, the more I thought, right, okay, let's get back out here again, because it's such a weird space. Not only that, but I've changed it to the Omni setting. So rather than it being the standard cardioid setup where it eliminates sound from behind it, it's picking up all around. So I figured that's got to be a weird sound. I haven't done any arrangements for these backing vocals. I'm just kind of working on the chords and working on what notes I think they should be and working around the lead vocal part that's already been written. So yeah, time for the backing vocals. For anyone who's willing to point out continuity errors, I have in fact changed my t-shirt. The reason being, I need to take the album cover shot, and it was a Coca-Cola t-shirt, and I feel like I might get in trouble for that. So, feels like a wise move. I'm gonna have a bit of a break now, and make some food. That's right, it's time for the cooking segment. Alright kids, it's time for the cookery segment. Today, we're doing baked salmon with whatever I can find to put it with. It's probably going to be some vegetables. But to start off with, we've got the salmon, which is here, responsibly sourced, you'll be pleased to know. And what I've done is I've got some foil. The oven is preheated as well to 160 degrees centigrade, not Fahrenheit, for those of you who wanted to know. And I'm basically going to do this really simply. It's going to involve some butter, it's going to involve the salmon, a bit of this salt that I bought the other day, which I can't immediately see in front of me. That's because it's behind the new microwave. I'll just talk you through. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is open these really awkward bits of packaging to get the salmon out. I'm going to put that into the foil, just like that. And I'm going to open the other one now with great difficulty. So now that my hands are washed, it's time to get involved with the butter. I've just got some salted butter here. There's obviously a lot of salt involved in this process. I like salt. Salt is good. Salt makes things taste nice. That's the cookery tip of the week, is that salt adds flavour to everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some nice slices of this butter. I'm going to put them kind of on top of the salmon, because this is what I did last time and it really worked. It was really nice. Quite thin slices. To an extent. It's going to be quite buttery, but that's good. We like buttery, it's tasty. I'm going to get this delicious garlic salt, and I'm going to season on the top there. Like so. I'm being quite generous, that's a word you use a lot in cookery, isn't it? I'm being generous. It's garlic salt. We're going to get a bit of that flavour in there, the garlic flavour. Can't go without black pepper, obviously. Why would anyone go without black pepper? The answer is they shouldn't. So now what I'm going to do with the salmon is I'm just going to wrap around it with the foil to create almost like a salmon Christmas present. And I don't really know what that does to it, but it seems to make the salmon quite nice. So let's just do that now. Let's just wrap around. Maybe it just keeps all the salmon in. That's good. And that's already in a little baking dish. Pretty sure the oven is already preheated. So let's get a nice artistic shot of that going into the oven now. So I'm going to set a timer, and you can use this time to do anything you like. Perhaps even write a song. So I've just come up to listen to the tape that I made when I sat and played at the piano, just to make sure that I haven't strayed too far from it, but also to see how far I've come. And it's remarkable, actually. I genuinely think that this has been the best part of the project this time, because it took away all the frills and fancy bits and allowed me to sit at a piano and write a song. And I don't think I've ever actually done that before. I know it's a strange thing to say, but I've never actually been able to do it without any technology. So thank you, Tape Machine, you have made this song what it is. Okay, we're back. We've passed the time, and now the salmon is ready. I've also steamed some broccoli, which will go quite nicely with it, I believe. So as I'm listening to this song, as I'm mixing it, something's just occurred to me. I'm listening to the lyrics and I'm realising this song isn't about someone who exists. This is entirely made up. It came from my imagination. I think it's amazing that a few days ago I was literally just watching someone in a train station and I've created this entire life around them. And it's emotional. I can feel this song. But it's not about me. It's not about anyone I know. It's about someone waiting for a train. It could be anybody. This song could literally be about anybody. There's a lot of power in it. There's a lot of emotion. But it isn't real. Isn't that incredible? Just like when Paul McCartney walked past Eleanor Rigby's grave in that churchyard. You know, he created a wonderful story from that. And that person doesn't exist, but that's almost like a household name. Eleanor Rigby is a household name. How strange is that? Which definitely reminds me, I need to name this song, which makes the next hour and a half slightly more difficult than I anticipated. My humour has reverted back into its pun-like state in the last week, so I think it's only right that I call the song Train of Thought. That's right, Train of Thought. So there we are, that's the name of the song. Because it is like a train of thought, but also it's about being at a platform. So, Train of Thought. Well, it's just about to turn midnight and you've joined me on the floor of the studio, a song in 7 days first, I believe. But, wow, it's done. And what a song it is. It's almost like 3 songs in one, and I absolutely love it. There's so much emotion in it, and It's unbelievable to think that this has come from me observing the general public and making up stories about them. I think the name is perfect, train of thought. I've really enjoyed making it, and as always, I've now got to wait until the next month before I create another song. But this one is probably the most out there of all of them. But that doesn't scare me, because I've got to push my own boundaries, and I really have done that with this. But I'm so pleased with it. Making this kind of material just makes me so happy. I do love it, and it's such a privilege to be able to be as creative as I can be here. The tape recorder is definitely staying. I'm going to use that to write all future songs, I think. I think this is one of the first great songs that I've written that doesn't come from personal experience. Well, obviously I know that I observe the people, but it's not about me, it's not about someone that I know. And now the song will be part of my story. So in a way, it becomes true. I don't know, it's so late, I'm so tired. But what a journey. Thank you for joining me again. And of course, I will see you next time.